All right, so good evening or good afternoon or good morning, Newsweek fans. I have a special guest today. His name is Russell, and he's here to talk to us about something I think is important, which is what's going on in the city of Las Vegas. You know, you may think of the city of Las Vegas as this really great place for entertainment that kind of died during the COVID pandemic, but it's surging, it's coming back, and you're probably aware that it's legal to smoke marijuana there. It's recreationally legal. And that's always a good thing for most people who advocate for marijuana. However, there's a dark side to it. Um, Maybe it's an unintended consequence, but there's some problems associated with it, at least in the city of Las Vegas, as seen through our guest eyes. And he's here to talk about that. So his name is Russell. And so, Russ, welcome to the Newsweek podcast.
Thank you.
So, first of all, uh, tell us a little bit about yourself. You don't have to reveal anything really personal, but kind of your age range and so forth, and then kind of like why you like to go to Vegas.
Okay. So this year I turned 55, and I was born in a small town and kind of worked my way to the big city and became a professional and stuff. And what I had enjoyed in an earlier age as recreational smoking kind of became taboo for me. With the stigma associated with it, and being illegal, of course, and then drug testing and everything. So this is kind of the age that I've been waiting for all my life, and still, where I live, it's not legal, but so I've ventured out to a couple of places and happened to go to Vegas without realizing. I didn't know that that they had legalized it there. So anyway, we go out there to unwind and it's Sin City, so we go out there to sin a little bit every once in a while, just me and my wife, and have some fun and enjoy the excitement and the stimulus that you get there. And so recently in our last trip, it was a completely different experience.
So you've had positive experiences in the past.
Oh yeah, we
Really enjoyed it.
it's like you said, you can go there and do whatever you want. You can see the greatest shows available. You can see concerts. You can, there's the strip bars, there's the gambling. Every sensory reward you could ever think about is there for you.
Yeah, it's a fun place. In fact, one of my best memories is several years ago. We had like a boys' night in Vegas. It was me and my brother and my father. We'd never done anything.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't crazy or anything. We just, had a few drinks and saw a bunch of shows and did a little bit of gambling, but it was very enjoyable. Although honestly, with Vegas, it was like after 3 days, I'm like, I think I'm ready to go home. But yeah, I have fond memories of Vegas. But on this particular trip, which was how long ago for you?
I'm trying to think. It was probably back in early part of this year, kind of after getting through the 8 or 9 months of COVID and being stuck at home and wearing masks and kids at the house, and we finally caught a break with our schedule to where we could free up a few days. And it's funny that you say that the time that you spend in Vegas is it can get too, that you can spend too much time there. And this particular time we spent I think 5 or 6 days, and we realized on the fourth or fifth day, we were kind of out of stuff we were kind of sensory overloaded. We were worn out, and we stayed a little bit too long. But like you said, or like I say, the thing going with my wife and stepping out and doing something like that is what we do a lot is people watch. You don't really have to go and pull the handles and spin the reels and all that stuff. A little bit of gambling, if some nice um, craft drinks and just people watching is usually enough for at least part of the time.
So this time though, it was the first time you'd been there since it had been legalized, since marijuana had been recreationally legalized. And tell us a little bit about what that was like? Because I think it was a little different than what you thought it, not in such a good way.
Yeah, we talked about that briefly and uh, a while back, and I was completely surprised. First of all, that I walked into that city right away, because you can smell it, and there's so much activity outside, and and so I was like, wow, and it hit me immediately, and so I was like, this is going to be cool. A lot of people are going to be stoned, and everybody's going to be chill, and of course, I wasn't planning to do any of that stuff with still working and everything, but anyway, it turned out to be a completely different experience because uh, pretty quick, first of all, I guess the atmosphere of walking into that, it's like taking a bong hit in your dorm room and thinking somebody's going to catch you, and so you have to get over that feeling and realize, hey, people are standing outside, and they actually had one thing that caught my eye was this little contraption that fits most standard water bottles, and it just basically turns it into a little water pipe, and people were walking around with those things, and so we I don't know, we got out and moved around, and what we were in a no smoking uh, hotel casino, and another one of the first things I noticed is that I could smell it in there, and I'm like, wow, nobody's smoking except somebody's smoking herbs, and so I thought, that kind of it kind of rubbed me wrong because no smoking place, you shouldn't smoke no matter what it is, right? And because people go there for that atmosphere, and but anyway, it wasn't overwhelming, but out on the street it was incredible. I mean, it was like a layer of smoke, kind of on those the smoky bar room situation. And so walking up and down the strip, like we like to do so much, just to get exercise and see everything, really was just completely in a cloud. And my wife really didn't dig it. She's never really been into that culture, and she was having trouble with the smell and the smoke, and I didn't mind that too much, but there was a and again, it's another sensory, it's a new sensory experience there. And it kind of felt like, something, it's like you're in the wrong place. There was a lot of loud noise and people, laughing really loud, and which, can be expected to some degree, but it was really intrusive on your personal space, so to speak. It, even though you're in a, you don't go to Vegas for personal space, but you don't go there to have people, talking so loud behind you that you can't hear yourself talk, and people in front of you, clowning around and jumping around, and so it became, kind of unpleasant, really, to us.
Was there a police presence at all?
No, so that's one of the first things once we got some downtime, I was like, let me check this law here, because just still something to learn for me. So what I read was, it's legal to possess in your home. It's legal to partake in your home. And so I kept thinking, these people are just right out in the open, and in some cases in the casinos. And, it was all forms and fashions. They had edibles, and of course they had the vapes. And then of course you could just buy the pre-roll, or you could buy your own little stash or whatnot. So it was all forms and fashions. And so um, obviously, that people were just standing around outside, uh, getting high, which again is doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. The smell doesn't bother me. I actually find it, kind of quite pleasant, especially in the times we are now, where the quality is so much better, where it doesn't smell like a grass fire. Um, but up and down the strip, it was like the pedestrian traffic wasn't moving. People were just kind of hanging out, and getting back to your original question, there was no police presence whatsoever, um, which in my mind, you just thinking about it, I was like, look, they don't care. They want people to come, and this is what they offer now. This is part of the Vegas experience.
Was there ever a feeling of like anybody was dangerous, or is it just more like they were just a little out of control?
Um, I think my wife kind of felt uncomfortable quite a bit with all the, when people get to, there's a certain age group or trying to think of the word for a demographic, that really gets loud and they really want to, make the most of the attention they can get and stuff like that. So there was a lot of unexpected loud talking and yelling and so, sometimes in a place you're visiting, you don't know if that's something fixing to happen or if everybody's having fun. It seemed to be overall people pretty much just chilling. But the other thing was like super foul language, all the way up and down the.
I was going to ask you about that. A lot of vulgarity, like over the
Yeah,
top.
and you know what? I was in the military, and I know all the words and all the times and right places to use them. But it's just like I don't know. It's hard to put into words, like a cacophony of of vulgarity, just up and down, and then I think once people you know get their high, they become looser with the way they dress and stuff like that. So there was a lot of skin and stuff, not any nudity, and that's fine with me too. That's part of the Vegas experience, but it was just different, and certainly, we've never taken our kids, but well, we've talked about it. You could do a kid trip there if you just kind of do the daylight thing and go to the right places.
This was
There's
mainly
a
at
lot.
night.
Say that again.
This was mainly at night.
Well, no, it was no. This was all up and down during the. I guess I'm referring to like past trips
Yeah,
before this one, where
right.
we've talked about, hey, hey, should we take the kids here? It's really not a kid place, and we had finally decided, hey, we could do it. The kids would have fun. We could find something for them to do. There's other stuff, but at this point, I would say absolutely. I would never take any of my younger kids there. It was just way overwhelming.
Do you feel like, I mean, because I've looked at most of these laws, and most of them some type of code in there or language to the effect that you're supposed to not intrude on other people with your smoke.
Yeah,
Definitely
that's
restricting away from schools and churches and businesses, but even like in the open, you're not supposed to do it where you might intrude on someone. And it feels like in Vegas, that's what's happening to the point that the cops are not even like going to do anything about it. Maybe they feel overwhelmed. Maybe it's because it's just Vegas and anything goes. I don't know, but those things are really not supposed to be happening.
yeah, and that was part of their law there too. I think is, and it's a reasonable expectation. I've been over the edge before. I've had too much to drink, and there was a long time in my life where I was getting high and acting out, and I look back and regret some of the things that I did. So there's always a little bit of that, but just to have an entire uh, um, visiting demographic doing that was really crazy. And I'll tell you, toward the end of the trip, I went into one of the malls there to get my wife a little gift, and there was really nobody inside those places. Everybody was outside on the street except for where they were selling it. The point of sale places. There were lines there, but in the mall, I went into a jewelry store and there was nobody there. Nobody came in when I was in there, and the lady was really happy and to have me there, and I bought a couple of things, and we started talking about the crowds and the fact that Vegas was opening back up. Everybody was really excited. Yeah, that's a reminder here. So now I'm remembering it was the week of spring break. So she said that was the biggest crowd they had seen since March 2020. right? So since the beginning of the pandemic, they kind of shut it down, and so this was kind of the welcome back. And but during that period, it, people started trickling in, and this was something that didn't surprise me, but I was really sad to hear. She said, before the Vegas crowd came back, people were just kind of coming to get weed, and there was a lot of, at that point, she said there was a lot of violence in the streets. There were fights and some stabbings and some people getting shot, and you know it seems like so it made me think, maybe that element is there, but that since there's so many people, there's really just not not a good opportunity or atmosphere for create for doing crimes like that, for having whatever it is, turf wars or verbal altercations that end up in violence and things like that. But or maybe just everybody's coming with more posse, but it really made me concerned to hear that. And so we talked and uh and visited a little bit about that, and kind of went on my way and wished her well. But she's a the people that live there and work there, they're kind of victims to an extent that this is what they do, this is where they live, and they need to come to work and feed their families, and they've got to deal with this extra element. And you asked a little bit earlier about how did I feel about the police, and were they just not no presence. And I guess I can't say they weren't there, but they weren't, it seemed to me they were more obvious before it was legal. Like you would have one standing on the corner here and there, and watching the local hangouts where some of the homeless gather up, and I just didn't see a lot of that this time down at street level. I saw them in cars and stuff like that, and maybe it's created I don't want to start guessing, but maybe a more of a patrolling need where they need to get around a little bit quicker or something like that. But definitely they weren't really boots on the ground like I had seen in the past, and they don't normally want that presence, right? They don't want people coming to Vegas and a bunch of cops standing around, and so they obviously try not to put the heat on you just because you came there to party. But with this element in there, and the blatant kind of disregard for the respect of the law and the other people, it seemed like uh, uh, definitely a missing presence.
So do you feel like most of the people that were engaging in kind of the excessive behaviors were tourists?
Oh
Or
yeah, I can guarantee you that absolutely. And in fact, we go enough, and I know some people that live there that I went to school with and stuff, and actually one guy exactly my age, we graduated together, and he still smokes, and he's very respectful and very mature, and it's just probably some to some extent maybe some anxiety medication for him, and then to another extent just another way to relax and unwind. But yeah, he's at home after work. He's not on the strip, and I guarantee you the folks. Well, the lady I spoke to, I can't guarantee anything because of the multitude there, but the lady I spoke to, we talked about that, and she said, yeah, definitely. When that started, it changed the game there, and so I feel like they're really going to have to do something to get the regular crowd back. There was no shortage of people, but the casinos weren't really full. So I think that's more of what they want. They want people in the shows and the casinos and the restaurants and stuff like that. So
essentially, people are saying, okay, here's a place where I can go buy legal weed and hang out and kind of party in a public place, which was never the intent of that law to begin with. So they're kind of exploiting it to some degree, is what it sounds like.
yeah, yeah, and with anywhere, the other place I had been recently in the last couple of years was into Colorado, but it was completely different. There, in a tourist town in Colorado, you're not going to have that. There was no sign of anybody doing that, and there were dispensaries and stuff like that, and there were places, there were locations I saw, where they were having weekend campouts and designated events for people who are going to do that, Um, so everything seemed normal. You know, Colorado's another destination that we enjoy, and it seemed completely normal uh, when we visited.
So, I guess like in typical Vegas fashion, it got transformed. I mean, it is Sin City, and so it's almost like this.
Yeah, yeah, really, it was. You know, it was just big party. You know, big smoke out on the street, and you know, as a it maybe when I was 18 and 20, you know, that would have been the thing, man. That would have been so awesome. But you know, now that we're pushing 60, it's like, you know, that's not as pleasant. That's like going to the bar, and being the designated driver, and it's all fun and cool, and then until somebody gets obnoxious, and then it's like, man, you know what, this kind of sucks. But with the element of marijuana in there, it just seemed to it just had a little bit of extra uneasiness for me, and certainly for my wife as well.
Do you feel like the people were doing other drugs probably on top of the marijuana? Like uh, kind of associating it with other usage.
I couldn't say for sure, especially considering the potency of what's available out there.
Right.
In my experience through the years, when the things I experimented with, it didn't stop it. It wasn't like one night I did this and one night I got high. It was usually, hey, let's get some beers, uh, let's smoke a joint, let's see what else we can find, and see how far we can push it. But uh, so I couldn't say that with confidence, but that's typically the atmosphere. Certainly a lot of drinking, man. A lot. Everybody had a beer and lots of 40s and quarts and stuff out, which is that's cool with me. I mean, uh, I'm not above busting out a 40 ounce every once in a while in the backyard. So, but that was something you saw anyway on the strip, all the drinks and the funny glasses and stuff. But
Kind of the combination of the two, though, pushes
oh yeah, for
pushes it a little
sure.
bit.
Yeah, yeah. It's just a little bit of a boost on your mental limits. A drink and some weed
I
and
think they have a problem on their hand, to be honest, just from the perspective of running a good business and getting people into the casinos. It's going to seem a little intimidating to a lot of people. They're not going to want to stay and see that kind of thing, especially if you're staying on the strip and you're paying $200 or $300 a night for a nice hotel. You kind of
yeah,
want to have a little more sophisticated experience. People want to gamble and they want to let loose and everything. I don't think they're
that's a
wanting.
great word for it, for sophisticated. I mean, it is Sin City, but people go there for the glitz and the glamour and great meals and spas. I'm not a spa guy. I'm a get in the dirt and hard work and sweat kind of guy. But when I go there, I go to the spa every day. I mean, that's part of my experience. And so people go there to relax as well. And let everybody goes there for their own experience, and I think, but a lot of it is in common is that you go there to let yourself go to the extent that you're comfortable, and we all have different limits for that. But I was talking about the problem you just mentioned. So in the airport and on the plane, there was a kid sitting in front of me, and I was, nothing to do on the plane, but there were no drinks on the plane. It was one of those trips was like not even a magazine in there, and they charge you for everything you bring, like they do nowadays. And so there's a kid sitting in front of me with his sister and his parents, and they're talking about this and that. As we get closer, the boy says to his sister, "I heard there's nothing but." Oh, he say, "I heard everybody smokes pot in Vegas." And his dad and mom were just like, "Oh, you could kind of see the shock, and his dad was like, no, that's not true, and possibly maybe his first time back, and so as luck would have it, we saw him on the street at some point, and they were talking about it again. They're like, the kid was just in passing, you could hear him saying, "Oh my gosh, there's so much smoke and it stinks in here," same guy from the plane, same kid from the plane, same kid on the street. And so I was like, man, his dad told him it wasn't going to be like that. That kind of hit home, man, for me with kids and stuff. Like his dad he didn't expect it, and
Right, because it wasn't
it
that way
told
in
him
the
something
past.
that wasn't true, you know. And
But it sounds like they need to kind of get a handle on this, because I don't think this is something that they should let go. It could lead to other problems, you know. Well, I mean, in addition to becoming a, a profitability issue because business declines, you know, as people start seeing this, and then, like yourself, you kind of don't want to go back. That's you're certainly not alone on that. And I I want to almost say this is like a dark side to legalization. Although I don't know if it's legalization per se, because as you said, you've also been to other states like Colorado where you don't have that problem. So it sounds more like it's a local issue about how they're handling this. And it doesn't sound like they're handling it very well.
yeah, I don't think they're making good choices with that. Like, I mean, you know, Colorado. I just got back from Oklahoma. I saw the signs, the billboards. Louisiana. I've been to other places, and you just don't see it. And so it's kind of they've kind of pushing the upper limits there, and I do believe too it does hurt the the original intent, you know, of the town and the service workers that live there, and it's going to have a large effect on on the Vegas experience. They definitely I can see that they're going to have to do something to corral that in.
And I don't think most people realize what's going on there. I mentioned this to a few people, you know, your experience there, and they're like, really? You know, because, you know, they'd been to Vegas in the past and not had any kind of issue like that at all. But, you know, things, I wonder, you know, how much of this also had to do with COVID, right? Sort of, you mentioned that you think most of them were, or you know that most of them were tourists, and it almost feels like the tourists have displaced the locals who are kind of shuttered in and staying home, you know, at least until recently.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, uh, I think for the most part, the locals don't hang out on the strip, but they do go there. And then when you're a tourist, it's your hangout, you know, for the time that you're there. You know, like the similar to the locals, as a tourist, you go there and you don't really leave the strip because that's what you came for. And everybody that lives there, you know, they have the day-to-day grind and stuff. So they come down for shows and take, you know, not a date, a husband and wife date every now and then. But so I feel like I could comfortably say that, you know, for the most part, it was all tourism. Um, so
And at this point, do you think you would go back?
you know, we talked about that actually on the probably the way to the airport or something. We talked to our Uber driver, and she spoke a little bit about the kind of that time being in, you know, when I remember that it was spring break in March. That's kind of when it felt like the country turned the corner on the COVID pandemic, and so people were coming out. You know, some of the governors had said, you know what, okay, no more masks, we're opening back up, and so, you know, there may be some truth to what you said about, hey, you know, it was really the breakout for a lot of people, and maybe they kind of you went as far as they could to have the best time they could, and maybe that was just the timing of it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
according to the, you know, like I said, I talked to the lady in the jewelry store, and she said no, it had been, they had trouble with it already before the crowds came back, and then like
Okay.
I said, you know, the kid with the parents, and so on our way back, you know, we talked to the Uber driver, and she mentioned some issues with it, and so you know, we had that conversation, like, man, are we at this point? I think I said, you know what, right now I really don't feel like I want to go back anytime soon, you know.
I got to feel you're not in the minority with that, and that a lot of people are having that opinion, which means, you know, down the road, their revenue is going to drop.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and so nothing pushes people to action like loss in revenue. I mean, at some point, they're going to do something about this because I cannot see those casinos standing by and going, "Oh yeah, we have a 20 or 30% dip. terms of tourists, coming here, staying and
Right.
spending the nights here and gambling and doing all the things here that we make money on. I got a feeling they're gonna have to get their arms around on that.
Yeah, you know, since that time, I've kind of been watching the uh, the news channels and the news feeds on the internet, and kind of keeping my ear open for some kind of change, and haven't really found it yet. I may try to jump back in there today while I have some free time and take another look. But I've kind of been waiting to hear, what they're going to do about it. I feel the same way. Like they've absolutely got to do it for the good of everybody.
Yeah, because it's not just profitability, money for the they employ a lot of people, and we already went through the ringer with pandemic in terms of employment losses and so forth.
Oh,
But,
Vegas
yeah,
got hit hard, right? I mean, that's a service.
right.
That's a all those people are there are service oriented, and without people to serve, they don't have any jobs.
And as you said, these people, it's a double whammy because first of all, it's an uncomfortable atmosphere, which is going to keep middle-aged people away. And we all know already that it's the middle-aged people that are going to bring the money.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? They're going to bring the money. They have the bigger jobs. And they're going to bring the money. So they're going to miss out on that segment. But also, uh, if tourists are coming in and they're mainly just hanging on the streets, like as a venue to get high and have like a
Right.
public party, that's not very profitable, right? Like, okay, maybe they buy some beers in a bar or whatever and they bring it outside. But that's not the same thing as people spending long periods of time in a casino, gambling regularly, spending their money on the spa, spending their money in the gift shops, and all the tourist type of things that are associated with that. I got a feeling it's going to catch up, and they're going to have to do something about it.
Yeah, and of course the not only the revenue from the meals and the gambling and stuff, but the tips for the folks that spend their careers there,
Yeah,
trying to make it just like we are. They depend on tips, and they're not going to get them in the street.
no, that's true. So I'm going to continue to do a little research on this and try to keep up with it. But when you told me that, I really had no idea that was going on there. I had not heard about it in the news or anything. So I don't think most people know about it. Just like you said, I'm not sure how the kid knew about it on the plane. Maybe probably
I know.
social media, right? He probably
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, he knew before I did, but I picked up on it immediately. And the first thing you think of is like, the old adage that, okay, the guy that's drunk is going to be the one, breaking windows and fighting and all this stuff. And the guy that's stoned, the joke is, oh, he's just going to have a bag of Cheetos, chilling and watching a movie or whatever. But it was completely not like that. And so, maybe it'll calm down a little bit with some as time passes, and maybe some help from the law enforcement. I got to feel like the law enforcement community there was not happy to have to deal with that element.
no, 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 no. And as I said, the businesses, casinos especially, are not going to put up with this for too long. They're going to lose too much money.
Yeah,
Something's going to
yeah,
have to change. It's probably even a bad combination of smoking marijuana and drinking. Like,
yeah, yeah. It's just one more sin for Sin City. Um, oh, I lost track of what I was going to say just now, but yeah, it's just another element that another what did I say? Another sensory overload there for you. And so if you're not responsible with it, then it kind of ruins it for everybody.
yeah, so Fear and Loathing version 2. I don't know, Fear and
Yeah,
Smoking,
yeah,
Fear and Toking.
yeah. I know. It was really disappointing, man, because once I realized that, I was like, this could be a really cool experience to see, how society goes with so many different people from all over the place, and it was not pleasant at all. And overall, we still had some really great meals and spent some great time together, but yeah, the experience, yeah, I have to be encouraged to book another trip.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of keep tabs on it because I would actually like to go back. I think it might be fun. Um, but like until that atmosphere changes, I don't want to be there either. And appreciate you taking your time to share your experiences there. I think people need to know about it before they book a flight. Maybe they need to do a little investigating if it's still kind of a place you want to go. Um, as you said, maybe if you're in your 20s, it's not a big deal. But if you're in your 40s or 50s and you're looking for something a little more sophisticated, you might find this a little unsettling. So, all right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up, Russ. I appreciate your time and sharing everything that you learned about Sin City, and so still appropriately named.
Yeah, I hope it's useful for folks, and with cooperation and leadership by example from responsible people, and a little bit of self-policing by just being respectful and following our COVID rules. Keep your distance. Wash your hands, and don't blow your smoke on people.
Yeah, I think you have to actually tell people that, but I mean, I guess whenever you get into situations where things are excessive, people need to be kind of reminded. And I do think that police presence stepped up, just hopefully in a non-confrontational manner, or
Yeah, for
the,
sure.
the least conflictual manner as possible. I think it's about expectations.
Just a gentle reminder that shouldn't be on the street.
Right, right. You need to do that indoors and then come out and enjoy.
All right.
Act like a responsible adults. I mean, even in Vegas, the majority of people are responsible. Yes,
Oh,
people
yeah,
go, but I mean, we know people go crazy. But I think this has taken it to another level, and it needs to be cleaned up for sure.
I
All
do
right.
agree.
Thank you for your time, Russ. We appreciate it, and have a great Monday. Enjoy your day off. And earlier you're smoking a brisket, so I hope that's delicious.
I'm smoking some proteins, and thanks for the opportunity to visit. It's a good to talk to you.
All right, you take care.
All right, goodbye.
Thank you, Newsweek. I hope you learned something interesting about Vegas. I surely did. Didn't know this at all. So I think this is going to be a really powerful thing for people to learn about so they can make a more informed. Bye bye.